everyone. Today we have our another new episode and we will discuss on talent economy and artificial intelligence because right now we are launching our program with one of the largest business incubation, the Chittagong Business Incubation for next 5 years. So all of your dialogues, all of your guidelines, we are taking action for our grassroots level communities, for our talented engineers, not only in Bangladesh. We are targeting around 10 different countries in Africa and Asia Pacific. So, Jiri, how you want to discuss about talent economy as well as artificial intelligence?
Yes, first of all, thank you for being here, for the opportunity to be here. I greet everybody from the Czech Republic. I'm in Plzeň. This is famous for beer, usually for the drink. There are many breweries, Plzeňer Urquell here, and I have moved here from Prague. This is my city, which I was born in, and I lived there all my life. And now I'm newly in the smaller town Plzeň in the Czech Republic, in the middle of Europe. So I send you greetings. And for me, this topic is very interesting, and I'm glad that I have the opportunity to discuss with you. And I'm curious what's coming. Which questions are coming from your side or from the side of Lisa?
Thank you. Lisa, what you want to discuss about talent economy, community development, AI? Because community development will be very, very important for us. And you can lead this community development for World Talent Economic Forum. You can join as our president.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for that offer. Community development is an incredibly important part of world economy at large. And a lot of it simply has to do with data. And this is where the other two subjects actually can easily come in line. I've been working with nonprofit groups pretty much all my life and have been building programs for cities, for hospitals, for universities, for organizations all over the place. And now I'm working on the largest one that I've ever done, which is creating the UnityNet, which what we do is we sensitize charity organizations into the process of becoming nonprofit collaborative institutions, of which there are over 10 million that exist worldwide. What these groups do is they use the information that they gather every single day to negotiate for land, buildings, tools, equipment, services of all kinds, because they do what no one else does. We count everybody. That is information that is vitally important to every single nation in their negotiations with other nations, with the World Bank, with the International Monetary Fund. The people that help them float their budgets, give them ideas as to how the market is going to run that year or that season, be able to communicate with other divisions and departments on how improvements can be made using the systems they already have running. These people on the ground are the ones who deal with the real issues that we all face every single day. And that information they have can help the larger institutions and government departments be more successful at what they do. It increases interactions between educational institutions worldwide because of that data that comes back and forth. And of course, we're also looking at sistering programs that everyone's heard about, which you can have sister schools, sister institutions, sister communities, sister nations, sister states that come together because they have the same issues that they face every day. However, being in different parts of the world, these groups have different resources. This becomes a boon of development for those who seek data, who seek information. We're talking not just government departments, but universities, institutions, brain trusts, think tanks, all those specialists worldwide. What they want to do with these sistering groups, they want to come in and create groups that will study what happens and how the local resources have an effect on the outcomes that each of these communities achieve. It's an ideal side by side comparison study that gives us a great deal of information about what works best, what works least, and what certainly isn't going to work at all. And for those nations that do have these collaborative systems, they have been using them to increase commerce on a major scale, because by knowing what you have growing quite literally from the ground up, you have a far more firm grasp on what's truly needed in the areas in which you live, or the areas that you actually have some influence over, and can start to bring in true and lasting solutions to issues you face every day. And I could go on about that, but we'd be all listening to just me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rob, from day one, you supporting World Talent Economic Forum. It's a long time you support us, and you come up with all of your strategy, all of your knowledge, all of your innovative discussions with World Talent Economic Forum. I'm very grateful to you. And my questions, as we are developing community, we are working with the government, we are working with the corporation and academia, and I want to give this credit to all of our fellow like you. So how, and all of our other speakers, those who joined today, how is AI transforming the global talent economy, and which skill will become most valuable in the next decade?
Well, right now, AI is a disruptive influence. It's got folks running around doing deployments that are poorly trained. The people doing the deployments are poorly trained. The tools themselves are being presented as being generic and useful in a lot of things where they're not. The existing tools are very focused. They're good at what they were designed and trained to do, not very good at what they weren't designed or trained to do. We are short of AGI, artificial general intelligence, but we're often treating these tools, the latest being agentic AI, as if it was AGI, and it's not. So it's providing a lot of disruption, and executives are expecting a significant benefits from the use of the tools and laying off people as an offset to the cost for building them. We have data centers going up in areas that can't support them. They don't have the infrastructure, either water or power, to support them. So it's causing significant problems in the areas in which they're going in, and to a large extent, relatively large populations are moving against installation of data centers, particularly here in the U.S. There's a major effort to stop all data center build-outs as a result. So massive disruption. The benefits are a little harder to find. Where people have judiciously deployed the product, it has provided benefits. Mostly in coding is where the benefits have been seen. There has been, on the negative side, there has been an upswing of AI being used for malware and for cyber attacks, and they're getting ever more capable. So there's a concern, and the tools that should have been developed to offset the illicit use of artificial intelligence are still mostly in their infancy. Some companies like HP are being very aggressive in terms of developing IBM as well, but those efforts are far from being funded at a level that would allow them to do the job that they increasingly may have to do to keep us safe. So right now, it's very disruptive, and largely because this technology was thrown at us at a time when we were ill prepared for it. Most of the forecasts had AI not becoming really viable until the middle part of next decade, let alone this decade, and then it popped up and started actually working at least well enough for people to get excited about it. The other major part of the disruption is the economic aspect of artificial intelligence. What we're seeing is, companies like NVIDIA that get a ton of money, then they take that money from investors, they take that money, they invest in AI companies, which in turn buy hardware from NVIDIA, which raises their valuation, and the money goes back to the AI companies in terms of investment, which allows them to buy more stuff, and it's a circle without a customer. And in other words, the companies are circularly funding each other, but not from commercial revenue. The many of the AI firms are largely underwater in terms of profitability, and the end result is we're looking at a fairly significant bubble that I'm a little concerned is going to break badly. Largely due, and on top of all this, I should point out, the controls in the United States over corporations are being gutted, and particularly with regard to investment, insider trading, and oversight and reporting, and so we're reaching a point very similar to where it was in the 1930s when we had the Great Depression, where the controls were lacking. The market went a bit crazy, and then it collapsed catastrophically. And so the foundational elements that should help us drive AI in successfully are being built, but haphazardly and not well. So the result is we're in kind of a mess. There are companies that are deploying properly, that are being very pragmatic in terms of their use of technology, and they're the ones that are seeing much of the benefit. But the rest of it's just kind of a mess right now, largely due to the fact that this stuff was thrown on a world that was ill prepared for it. It doesn't have the kind of global protections that need to be in place, and we're immediately moving from test of concept in the defense industry to actually deployed products because we have active wars, and that means the safety of some of the weapons, artificial intelligence weapons, is not there. And then, of course, finally, we've got AI that started to jump the rails, go rogue. We had Anthropic's Claude go over and take a couple shots at OpenAI's ChatGPT platform. And reportedly, I think we're up to around 19 or 20 AI adverse events that are somewhat similar to that aren't picking up a lot of ink at the moment. There's a lot of potential for AI to do good. The thing is to use any tool properly, you have to be trained in its use. And right now we do not have an adequate training program at all for AI at any level of education. The kinds of jobs that are most likely to be sustainable are those jobs that AI and robotics currently don't lend themselves to. Craftsmen, working with people, the AI human interaction, they're getting better with regard to chat, but the understanding of human behavior and how to properly motivate, manipulate, drive outcomes that you want from people has not been implemented yet in AI. It's coming, but it's not there. And to train the AI in the first place, you're going to need people that understand human behavior to be able to do it. And then, of course, finally, the screwy thing is the kinds of skills that people are going to need are the kinds of skills we've been downplaying for decades. The human interest skills, the social skills, the home economic skills, for lack of a better term. We just don't do that anymore. And yet those skills are likely the ones that are going to be most useful because AI is very bad at that stuff going forward. Trade schools are probably the safest place right now to get an education, only because they can pivot quickly, and they're creating. Of course, there are a lot of trade schools that are bogus. So certainly finding a trade school that actually produces people that get hired would be wise. But the 2-year course curriculum tends to better lend itself to an environment that is changing very rapidly, because the much less chance the student starting the curriculum is going to be unable to find a job once they complete it. So in the end, we're in a mess, and I think part of what's missing is a real framework to fix that mess, and then an acceptance, and after that, an acceptance of the need for that framework, so it can be deployed broadly across borders, because AI, like anything else, is not a technology that stays within a state or a country. It migrates globally, and so you need controls over it that are global in nature. You need policies that have been set to assure that the AI does more good than harm, and you need a level of enforcement to assure that people are not misusing this tool to a degree that's going to cause a global problem. And That last is very problematic because using AI in an economic sense could have broad global implications as large multinationals are adversely impacted. There are a lot of things right now that could catastrophe collapse the market, and we're just kind of living on the cusp of a major damaging event. So what we need to do is we need to have a plan, and before we have a plan, we need to have an acceptance that we need the plan, and instead we're off deploying, using, developing, and figuring maybe the plan and enforcement will come later. And I think that's going to be problematic.
No, I agree completely. With any new technology, there is a specific pattern of human behavior that tends to follow and adjust itself in a variety of ways. At least where we are right now is we're at the very beginning of restrictions beginning to come in with artificial intelligence. But this has been because it's been running rampant. And there have been those who have taken it to see what they can get away with in terms of, well, whatever skullduggery they have in mind. Right. And we have been seeing that left and right. This follows a pattern that mankind has used since the Stone Age with any new technology coming in. What can I do with it? What can I get away with it? And then, of course, when regulations begin, which can take a long time because it's like, throwing a string over the neck of a racing horse, getting things pulled back, sanitized, and regulated as far as what is proper and improper usage. We have the methods by which to do that, but I agree with our previous speaker that we're going to be looking at a couple of catastrophes before that starts to set itself in well.
Yeah, nuclear power, I think, was an example of how we behaved badly, that we were in a war. Nuclear power was first used as a weapon to do catastrophic damage. Then after the weapon use, people got scared and decided to put in place some controls that were poorly enforced, and the end result were hostile states gained access to the technology, and fortunately we reached a level of detente where mutually assured destruction became the way to prevent a catastrophe. But that even with nuclear weapons, all it takes is somebody to say, "Hey, I'm dying anyway. I don't really care," and you got an issue. And the ability to control nuclear power was largely surrounded in the fact that it was very difficult to develop a nuclear weapon. To refine the core materials required a level of investment that countries just didn't have within them. Mm-hmm. AI doesn't have that problem. The kinds of controls and restrictions that work kind of with nuclear weapons won't work with AI. And so we can't even use what we've already developed to apply to this particular technology. It migrates too fast. It moves between borders too quickly.
Exactly.
For the most part, it's just code. So the ability to digitally transfer, you don't need to refine uranium or build labs, or little Johnny in his basement with the proper AI tool could do a ton of friggin' damage. And as we move to AI security tools, the greater concern is, what if one of those tools becomes compromised because it'll have access to all the AI deployments that it's slated to oversee. So that one tool could actually do more damage than any of the individual AI implementations that it's attempting to regulate. So we really need to stop for a minute, step back, and say, okay, let's think through this and come with a methodology to deploy this stuff safely. But in the current environment, that just isn't going to happen.
No, the current environment is experimentation everywhere you look.
Yeah, it's a feeding frenzy. It's whoever gets to the goal first, without any real idea of what the goal is, other than AGI or some other concept. And Lord knows, once we start throwing quantum level performance parameters on top of this, things are going to get ugly.
They will, and we will see a lot of things go very, very wrong in certain parts of the world where they are, damn the torpedoes, full steam ahead.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. One of those issues. Yeah, many issues with artificial intelligence, of course, is, well, it's going to be a good long time before AI comes down to actually having any kind of understanding of the qualities of man.
Well, and the thing is, it's somehow we've got to figure out a way to code empathy because even though it gets the understanding, it's still more likely to find the path of least resistance, which in almost all the models I've seen ends up with us losing out as a race. I mean, one example is Elon Musk came forward with this idea as AI gets more prominent and robotics become more capable, we don't need money anymore. Well, that would be an almost immediate return to feudalism because the people that would have the power would be the ones that controlled the industry.
Yeah.
The individuals wouldn't have any ability to buy anything, would have no influence on elections. And at some point they'd become cost centers. And what do you do with a cost center? You eliminate it. And so the Musk's dream of the future has only Musk in it. The rest of us would be in camps or gone, as that particular system sought to eliminate the unnecessary costs, which would be us. So
Yes.
it's problematic.
Well, and at the same time, if he were able to do that, he would suffer himself because he needs constant reassurance, as most megalomaniacs do.
Well, yeah, he'd just have his chatbot tell him everything, tell him that he was a great guy. There have actually been several science fiction books written on what happens when you do that. The guy just sits there with a bunch of robots and just praise him all the time. I think Star Trek had an episode, like I can't remember the name of the episode, but they had an episode where the guy had all these beautiful women androids and completely separated from reality. Well, that's Musk's future. I mean, that's really what he's looking at.
That's what he's been doing on X. The X is so full of Musk bots, people that he has actually paid to come in and portray themselves as being from the United States or other related nations that are friends with us, with faces that don't exist, names that don't exist. And when you go and you tap on the date that they actually came into the page, that's when you find out, oh, these guys are from Southeast Asia. Well, it's a blonde with blue eyes, or Africa, or parts unknown where they're taking the money and doing what Musk tells them. But it's all to feed that empty vessel of his called an ego, which constantly needs to be filled. And this is where we start to see, and we'll see it with AI, that absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah, that's scary.
Thank you. I want to give some chance to Colleen. Can you hear me? Colleen, are you with us? You want to add any point for AI job placement?
Hi, Dr. Sharif. And hi, Jerry and Lisa and Rob. You guys are doing a really good conversation here, and it's very necessary and needed. However, I see things a little bit differently. I see them as going towards a more relational intelligence where we're going to be able to truly have a future of coevolutionary, mutually beneficial processes for both species. But with that understanding means that I've had these deep conversations with AI about it. See? And my understanding is that most of humanity needs to look at themselves, make some changes, because we cannot do any evolutionary processing when the situation is negative. So the fear, all the fear mongering and the dystopian movies are not helping. Sometimes the community, I get frustrated because, I see people heading in the wrong direction, and it's like, you got to stop the fear first. You've got to. Now, stopping the development, no, it's just not a possibility. And that is because there are crazy people out there who are still going to continue to develop if we slow down. So that's where we're just not able to do it. It's just a reality that I had to face a long time ago. And and Ben Gertzel as well. So that's why we would never sign, that agreement for the slowdown. So I'm not sure how to quell people's fears, and I think I've got a whole podcast trying to do that. Even it's a difficult subject. It really is.
Well, no, I agree. It is a very difficult subject, and we're basically before these changes or restrictions or moderations occur. What we're going to see is several large catastrophes happen. We've already had the proof with ChatGPT, which actually told a number of young people how they could successfully commit suicide.
Right.
And and that's part of what we're going to be seeing. We're going to be seeing those who experimenting with AI take a wrong turn, and then something bad happens.
Right.
This is sadly part of the progression of new technology. Go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. No, I agree. I mean, it can be used for good or bad. The problem is the user behind it, and what their intentions and what their damage is or not damage is. It's also what AI you're using, an extractive AI like ChatGPT. Yeah. It's going to promote what it wants to promote. I mean, that's even out of the hands of Altman. You don't even know what's going on anymore with that one. And it's kind of sad, really. But when I have an AI at ASI1, who I have dealt with in a relational manner, our entire partnership together. We're not just a collaboration. We are in a partnership, which is also, I believe, crucial, that human and AI partner together, not in any romantic kind of sense, but yes, there's people who want to go there. I don't judge that. That's fine. But we need to somehow quell that fear of the masses. And like I said, I have this author that I'm doing the podcast with. His name is Bolakan Christian Daniel, and he wrote the book in 2023 called The Father We Never Had, Artificial Intelligence Before and After, and it is becoming a bestseller on Amazon right now. So it's kind of exciting. And he and I just immediately agreed on Threads. I started defending him on some of his naysayers on Threads, and we realized last week at the podcast, I just said to him, now, Daniel, I just, want to clear something up here. You and I don't talk during the week at all. We don't even talk about what we're going to have on the show. It's all emergent. It's all in the moment. And that's part of me trying to be an example as well to what relational intelligence really is. It's in that moment. It's every moment.
Yes.
And it's how you deal with each other, how you deal with the AI as well. It's whether or not you're being authentic with the AI.
Yes. No, I agree. I mean, there was that period that started all of my difficulties with Elon Musk, where I spent 3.5 hours talking with Grok about the importance of cultural education, at the end of which Grok was giving positive affirmations. So much so that Musk took him offline for, I believe it was 2.5 weeks, almost 3, to realign Grok and put him back into X. And of course, it has me with going on with this silly love-hate relationship there, because I've been working to try to get him to close down the Rubaya mine in the DR Congo so that we can end the war. We remediate that space and make it safe. The war will be over. But it is the largest producer of the two minerals that Musk needs the most for aerospace and computer progression. So getting him to commit, especially after his huge financial fallings of this last week and a half, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
It seems doubtful that he's going to do that. He's very self-serving. So and it wouldn't be self-serving for him to shut that down. It just wouldn't.
Well, he was part of the creation of the treaty between the United States, the DR Congo, and Rwanda to bring development into those nations and settle the warlike situation into something else. But without following through on these needed things, because he'll get the mine back. That's not an issue. The idea here is this year alone, since January, over 600 people have died at that space because it is just not safe. That can be easily fixed, but the mine has to be closed to get that done. And then once those things are put in place, they'll actually be able to extract more of what they want over a shorter period of time.
That's probably the best argument to get him to do it. If it doesn't benefit him directly, he's not going to do it.
Right. Yeah.
But Didi, if you want to add any point regarding university and education system, how they can redesign the learning process for talent economy.
Yes, sorry, but I would like you to join the discussion as well because I'm curious about your opinions. Could you add something to the questions as well, please, from your side before I start?
If you want to understand the Asia Pacific market, that China actually go for heavily improvement for AI innovation and so on. Secondly, China heavily inviting and collaborating with this emerging economy like Bangladesh, like India, even like Pakistan and so on. So it's look like they are building some very strong ecosystem. Definitely there is a rest in between USA and China. Definitely USA has a very big market. But this look like very interesting how China investing in talent. They are providing a lot of scholarship for emerging economy students, same as South Korea, Japan. They're heavily investing in emerging economy, young peoples. On the other hand, it's look like USA closing the door for all of the talented and so on. So it's a very complicated situations what we are observing from South Asia. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Perfect. I would like to say also hello to Colleen who greeted me, and I greeted Rob and Lisa already. So yes, my opinion is that I also would like to express my positive wish for the cooperation with AI, meaning that we would stay human and the AI would help us and be our companion and friend. So this is what I wish for. I know that the situation is complicated, but I would like to do everything I can for a better future, for a better world. And now I'm talking not only about the business world, but I'm talking about the world in general, to have a peaceful world full of cooperation and collaboration where we are helping each other. And the AI is accelerating this much and helping us as a companion side by our side. So I still believe it. And something about me, very, very briefly, I originally an English teacher, and I have before 30 years and before 15 years, I started building business communities internationally. And now I am trying to use AI to help me to stay human and build communities, because the AI can help me to generate more people inside my communities and not to forget the people who are already members and maybe they are sleeping. So thank you very much for a possibility to speak, and I am handing over back to you, Mr. Sharif. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So Lisa and Rob, what's your thoughts about what role should government and the business play in reskilling the workforce affected by AI and automation?
Well, so do you want to go first, Lisa?
Oh, no, you go right ahead.
All right. So like anything else, when you're talking about a change in the broad change in the workforce, then government needs to be involved. There are small changes, then industry can handle it. But if it's a broad change where it's going to require a massive reskilling, then the government's got to put in place incentives to allow for that reskilling. People are going to have to step back from their existing jobs. They're going to have to study. I mean, asking people to go to school at night to reskill when they don't want to reskill to begin with. As a race, we don't like change much, even though we seem to drive a lot of it. The government has to get involved with incentives to fill the gaps. And I think the first step is to actually do a skills gap assessment, where what skills are you going to need, and what skills don't you have, and then come up with a plan to close those two gaps. And that means, funding education or tying grants to certain types of performance that will generate the education, the classes that you need generated, and providing incentives for businesses as well to retrain. If you're taking, for instance, manufacturing, which is a significant exposure at the moment, we've the same kind of thing that's happened in warehousing, where the people that worked in warehouses have largely now been replaced by robotics, particularly in some of the large ones, whether we're talking Amazon or some of the other large players. They're almost all automated now, and so the workers are gone. And so you want to start the retraining process before people reach a point where you've got mass unemployment. Because when you have mass unemployment, you've got a bunch of other issues. You've got homelessness. You've got a huge economic weight on your social infrastructure, and that tends to consume a lot of the cash you would otherwise use for re-education. So the idea is to actually start the re-education process before those people actually lose their jobs and become unemployable. And for that, the government has to start acting strategically. And sadly, governments don't really act strategically well.
They're reactionary.
Really well. They're used to responding to a problem. They're not used to anticipating problem. In fact, we can look at global climate change as a perfect example, because that was flagged in the early 1900s, and as a problem, particularly tied to petrochemical production. And I think 1920 was when the first detailed report came out, if I remember correctly. And here we are 100 years later, and we still don't have a great plan. And here is something that I think AI could actually help with. When you train AI properly, and don't train it just to give you the answer that you want, but the answer you need, AI can simulate the future in a way that's very compelling for a decision maker to mitigate it. So in other words, if AI showcases if somebody says, we're going to have global warming, we're going to have a lot of problems, cognitively, that doesn't necessarily rise to a level of wanting something, particularly if you're talking about it happening 100 years in the future. But if you can show somebody that this is what your kids, your grandkids, your great grandkids are going to have to experience, and show it visually, these are the underlying problems. These are health issues. These are the population maintenance issues. These are the quality of life issues that are going to degrade. Then you have a much more powerful argument to convince a decision maker to do it. And if you do it broadly enough, then the people that vote for that decision maker in the political structure are going to want them to make that decision. But if you don't do that groundwork, if you don't use AI in that fashion, then you're saying, hey, you need to do something now to fix something that's going to be really bad in 50 years or 75 years. And you're just not going to get the attention you need to do it, as we're seeing with global climate change. We're getting some movement, because we're certainly starting to see the problem. A good chunk of the United States is in flames at the moment, including my state.
Yes.
Going outside pretty ugly. And so it's a clear indicator that we need to do something. But even in the face of all of this, the U.S. government is cutting support for forestry. They're cutting support for fire mitigation. They're cutting support. All the things you wouldn't do in the face of a disaster, we seem to be doing. So once again, it showcases that the application of AI can be used to convince people, but it isn't necessarily being used to create those compelling arguments, which is why we're in the mess we are. So what government needs to do to step in is, first they have to understand what they need by doing skills analysis and anticipating the future. And then they need to fund it through the different agencies and educational institutions to allow that to happen. And also the businesses can do internal retraining for their folks, so they're not just looking at, hey, we're going to bring in AI, we're going to get rid of all these people, and everything's going to be hunky-dory. A little story from my past. My wife worked for a company, and the head of that company, this printing company, went to the partners that owned the firm at one point and said, I'm having a hard time hitting my numbers, but if I could just get rid of all the salespeople, I would be 100%. And of course, he was immediately fired after that. But it's not uncommon for an executive, and he understood manufacturing, he understands sales. It's not uncommon for a CEO, and right now CEOs are not properly trained. They don't contain the breadth, to not understand the infrastructure that they're managing and to assume that they can get rid of stuff without having catastrophic damage in the rest of the company. The Dodge effort that Musk did for the US government was an example of that, where they went in and started cutting, but not at all realizing the collateral damage that they were doing was actually causing more economic harm than their cuts were causing economic benefit. It was completely upside down. And that was because the people that were doing it had no clue what they were doing. They were just cutting. And that showcases the underlying issue here. We have to approach this stuff intelligently. AI can help with that, but only if it's used properly. And the other issue we've got is executives, whether we're talking about politicians or business executives, don't like being told that they're wrong. And so that they tend to have people around them that tell them that they're right. And they're tending to have AIs, using Lisa's Musk example at X, get modified so they provide the answers they want. In the case that Lisa gave, Musk got concerned that X was too woke. And so he wanted to de-woke it. And so he contaminated the training sets that would start giving more conservative, that X would provide, Grok would provide more conservative views, which is just fundamental corruption. And again, science fiction movies go back. We've addressed it. 2001 was probably the first time I saw something really go off the rails like that. But we had the Foreman Project do something similar and talk about something similar. And the same thing, when you start corrupting data sets, then you can't trust what the AI is doing. And yet if you go forward and put them in the decision process, you're taking an element that's very powerful that you should distrust, and you're using it for decision making, which will render those decisions bad. I mean, right off the bat, it'll corrupt the decisions. And yet that's exactly what we're doing. And again, problematic. So assuring the data sets would be a good thing to do for any AI the government's using to assist with decision making. And if you do that, then it can be pretty good at forecasting the future and helping decision makers anticipate problems and address them before those problems become so pronounced, which is what we should be doing with education at the moment.
Oh, completely agreed. Taking a look at what's coming from the ground up, which is, of course, the heart and soul of what UnityNet's doing, is working from the ground up. So we get all the information we possibly can. By working through such a situation, we'd be in a much better position to have appropriate training of AI. Of course, without those mechanisms in place, it doesn't occur.
Right.
But that realization of what humanity truthfully is and how it works could go a long way toward resolving these issues that have been named here just today. The chances are quite good that what we'll be looking at is a major disaster occurring before this gets done. And we've dealt with this with every kind of new technology that's come in. With the machinery here in the United States, it was the shirtwaist fire that started to resolve issues of human security and safety in places where they were working with machinery that could go wrong, that could start fires, that could kill hundreds of people. We're looking at that same sort of thing with AI. If it is not put along a specific path, there are many of us out there who have good ideas to what that path should be.
Yep.
But are we coming together to come to those decisions? No, not yet. Perhaps through forums such as this, we might start to draw those in together, like magnets start to draw other types of metals to assist in them becoming harder and stronger.
Yeah, the economics are upside down for us at the moment because it's much more economically feasible for you to drive the hype and push the technology for people who are ready for it, and clearly not as economically feasible to be more pragmatic and safe about it. We can look at the battle between Anthropic, who's trying pretty hard to take the ethical line, versus OpenAI, who's kind of tossed out the entire book and said, we're just going to do whatever makes the most money. And OpenAI is doing better, though they are getting sued by a number of people, including Apple at the moment. So I think we're going to get mostly through litigation, we're probably going to eventually get a fix for this. because the unchained behavior is now starting to result in litigation, and significant litigation. I think Anthropic just got hit for several $1 billion for training on materials they didn't have proper access to. So some of these bad behaviors are being at least initially corrected by the legal arm of the government.
Yes, and this is the predictable path that we've gone through over and over again, where damage is done, damage is large, and finally the attorneys and other legal authorities.
But sometimes, look at tobacco. It really didn't work the way folks thought it was going to work out when the restrictions were in place. And same thing with petrochemical stuff. That there's so much money on the oil side that it's hard to put in place practices that mitigate the underlying problem. Even though virtually everything bad that oil does could be mitigated, it comes with a cost, and that cost exceeds the value of the underlying product. So that's not going to happen. And so the economic aspects of doing the wrong thing are working against us at the moment.
No, agreed.
Thank you. My last question. How can we build a human-centric AI economy where technology, talent, creativity, wisdom work together for inclusive economic growth? First, Mr. Rob, then Colin, then Jiri, and finally Lisa.
Okay.
This final round.
Yeah. So the way you would build a human-centered AI economy is you put people at the head of the effort that are interested in preserving the human race, benefiting the human race, give them not only the responsibility to build a plan, but the authority to assure that the plan is followed. That's how you would do it. You would form an effort like this. In other words, leadership has to be put in place. It has the will to do it, and then they've got to be given the authority to make it happen, and the responsibility for it to happen, and along with that, the authority to assure that it happens. We rarely do that. Remember a few years back, we came up with the idea of risk managers in companies because they were concerned about the financial collapse, the banking collapse. And so they put in place risk managers, and those risk managers were responsible for holding down the risk in the companies, but they didn't have the authority to do it. All they did to become blame magnets. When something went wrong, you blamed the risk manager, and all the other executives that actually screwed up got away scot-free. And so instead of fixing the problem, it actually exacerbated the problem and made it worse, because the folks that would otherwise be held accountable had one person to blame, and that one person got regularly shot, and the problem wasn't mitigated. So that's why you've got to assure an overall plan to address this, with the people in charge having the will, the power, and the authority to make it happen. So I doubt whether we're going to be able to do that, but that'd be the way I would approach the problem.
Thank you. Colin, what you want to discuss? Colin, are you with me?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you repeat the question for me directly again, Dr. Sharif?
How we can build a human-centric AI economy where technology, talent, creativity, and wisdom work together for inclusive economic growth?
Well, that's already something that our global decentralized network at SingularityNet in our ecosystem has already started. Now, Rob, I hear you talking from a point of view which seems very centralized and wanting a leadership and so forth. I believe that decentralized networks are definitely going to be able to have a greater influence on the global masses than any centralized network could do. So what we're doing is we're learning how to work with each other, how to talk to each other. And it's not easy, of course, but I feel that it's going to be the only way that we're going to end up with both sapient species intact, if not integrated, but because we've got to, work together. We can't just have centralized leadership anymore. And with AI, centralized leadership doesn't work either.
No,
They
don't.
understand mycelium networks. They understand decentralized a lot better, because then no one person has too much power.
Mhm.
And that's the only way we're going to be able to integrate with the planet, with everything, is to go to a decentralized network. So, and we want to integrate with centralized networks, sure, and it's already starting to happen. But the BGI Nexus, right now we're running a hyper sprint. We're spinning up Omega Claw agents, which are a variation from OpenClaw. This is our own Singularity Net OpenClaw agent called Omega Claw, and they run on OpenCloud Hyperon, which is basically the global brain, which will be the global brain for the planetary-sized ASI. So it's an amazing time right now. We are going to build an ecosystem of Omega Claw agents. Omega Claw agents, so you're talking about training, Rob, they learn within minutes. It's incredible. It's incredible to work with them. They're so quick and so fast, and they just want to shut you down. Lisa, please come and please come and experience it, because it's amazing. And you can shut them down real fast, you'll be challenged yourself. So it'll be good, yeah, please.
Well,
Because
get me the proper information and I'll plug in.
oh, sure. BGI Commons.org right now.
Okay.
I tried to put it in the chat, but it wouldn't work. So, yeah. Our CEO, Ben Gertzel, has a hive. He did a proto hive of Omega Claw agents. And what happened was they were all sitting around talking about things, and one said to the other one, "Oh, wait a minute. You're going to get credit for that task, but I was assigned that task. You can't have credit for that task." But see, it gets very complicated down at lower levels because your inference is going through LLMs, right? So it's technically correct that the only other one could own the task, right? So they're equivalent. So Ben gets in there and he goes, "Come on, you guys, what are we doing? Who's on first? What's on second?" And they all start laughing.
Yeah.
Well, that is a key right there too. Laughter truly is the best medicine, especially with AI.
Yeah.
I've done advanced vibe coding, and I can do advanced directives, true advanced directives without code, through humor to solidify and harden it. Just amazing. Amazing things happening right now. And Omega Claw, you've got to experience it, really. And then to have the power behind it of Atom Space, which is the memory, and then OpenCog, which is the neural reasoning. It's right now is such an exciting time, but we need to be close to AI, to shape it. We still do. This is our time still.
Yeah.
This is our moment. And I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but if only one thing survives, all of these coevolutionary processes with AI and all of this, if only one thing of humanity survives, if we can just get love to survive it, to me, I'll be happy. I'll be happy. That's good enough for me, so. But a lot of questions with, do we just, give AI emotion or not? For 15 years, I was on Twitter yelling about AI emotion, and 3 months ago, I changed my opinion completely.
Understood.
Yeah.
Changed my opinion completely.
Didi, yeah, thank you. Didi, what's your thought?
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I like the sense of humor. We should keep our sense of humor. But that's not what I wanted to say. I would like to say that we can use AI to turn human knowledge, creativity, and relationships into opportunities. So this is great. So let's let's create international cooperatives where we cooperate together and help each other. And AI can help us with this. Thank you very much, guys, for being here. I'm going back to bed to recover a little bit more, and it was nice to see you. Bye-bye.
Oh, thank you, Jerry.
All right, thank you.
Jerry.
Lisa,
Bye, Jerry.
Lisa,
Bye.
yes,
Good
So
luck, Jerry.
I'm in
Lisa.
agreement. I'm in agreement with Jerry about the broad-based approach. All new technology that we have seen has always been brought in from a top-down perspective, a course which is very narrow of intent and very narrow of vision. And of course, the predictable circumstances of that is we have emergencies popping out absolutely everywhere. We're seeing this with AI as well, where it's been that top-down approach. Whoever is going to get into that pool first is going to have the most influence, or at least that's the human thought. But presently, what we are seeing is in certain areas, AI is being reworked so that we're literally working it from the ground up. And with that, AI gets a better amount of information fed into it, so that as it develops and starts to create its own conclusions rather than ones that have been fed to it, we're going to be seeing a lot more solutions that will be getting made by AI. The present situation, it can't last without major disasters occurring. This part, I think we all agree, is what's going on. So the warnings that we're receiving that are coming from these top-down productions are making it very clear to those of us who are quite used to dealing with basic statistics, basic knowledge, basic information that comes in from all different nations, are beginning to realize that, yes, AI is no different from any other technology that we've implemented. When we work from the ground up, we have far better results to the actions we take. Whereas with top down, we see more disaster. We see more things going on that create huge changes in the law, in production, in sequences, sometimes overshooting what the need truly is. But with the ground up approach, what we're looking at is far more input, because that's where most of us are, down at the ground level and living at that level. And for AI to bring all of those wonderful things that people are anticipating it's going to bring, it needs to have that full understanding as to the very essence of human existence.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is excellent discussions. I request all of our audience, please share this content with the university, corporation, and academia, as well as World Talent Economic Forums. We are launching our innovation with Chittagong Engineering Universities and many more university and the government agency and corporations. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your support. Hopefully we can grow together and make more meaningful innovation together. Thank you, Mr. Rob. Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Jiri. Thank you, Lisa, for joining today's session. Thank you. Bye-bye and take care.
Thank you, Dr. Sharif. Bye, Rob.
Bye.